Welcome to Transform Your Impact. Thank you so much for joining me and Mark Shapiro today, my guest, an amazing speaker. He's also the creator of areyoubeingrreal.com. He's interviewed heavy hitters like Ricki Lake, like Peta Wilson and Lewis Howes, and he likes to have meaningful conversations about the things that matter in the world. So I thought you'd be a perfect guest for my topic, Transform Your Impact. And here's my guest, Mark Shapiro.
What up, Alexa? Thank you for having me on the show. Thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So happy to have you. And it looks like you're someplace sunny.
I am. I'm in my home in Venice, California, and it's been a little cold this winter, but overall, it's such a great place to live. Love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Beautiful. So let's just dive right in. Would you tell us about what you're up to? You're up to so many great things.
Sure. Well, it's an evolving process, and I think tying it back to transform your impact, it's something that is so dear to my heart because I want to make the most of my time here on this planet. Like, I want to have a great time, but I also want to contribute and make a positive impact in other people's lives. So pretty much everything I do is like stem from that in some way, shape, or form. And I think, on a deep, deep level, it's because I'm just an average person that just wants to fit in and contribute. And then, on the other part, I think it's just like, why the hell not? Like, there's just so much opportunity for change and innovation in this world. And I think it's just so fun to kind of play around with and experiment with different ideas that can maybe make this a better place for maybe one person or a community or maybe even the whole world.
I love that. I love that. Beautiful. Yeah, your tagline of or what I was reading on the website of like inspiring stories, refreshing honesty, and deep discussions about life's most important questions. That's pretty deep.
It is. I've always loved deep conversation. I've struggled with surface level stuff. I like to dive in with people and ask them what they're most excited about and what their challenges are and like have a heart-to-heart conversation, because I found that that's the way that I connect best with others, over deep, meaningful conversation versus talking about pop culture or sports, which is a great way to get to know someone. I've just found for me that I attract deeper relationships and closer friends when we talk about the stuff that's actually real, that is often so relatable and sometimes goes left unsaid. Are You Being Real is the name of my podcast. It's the name of my website. And I created that about 4 years ago after, a long, lifelong journey of living inauthentically and not even knowing it. And kind of what I learned is that authenticity is really a practice. It's a moment by moment practice. And I think the easiest way to kind of articulate that is we live in a loud, noisy, busy world. And, from the second that we're born, we've got our parents and our siblings in our ear of what's right and wrong and how we should live our lives. And we've got the media and our friends from school and pop culture. So we're like instantly inundated with all of this conditioning, which in a way makes it tough to actually know if we're being true to who we are and how we're being influenced by others. So I think the practice of authenticity is incredibly important, because if we're not living authentically, something's going to feel just a little bit off. Maybe a little bit of frustration, maybe a little bit of fear, maybe feeling like we don't really belong or disconnected from others, maybe some frustration. I've definitely felt that. So I find that authenticity is a practice. And I think kind of another way to kind of zoom out as to why I think authenticity is such an important thing to practice is if you're up in an airplane kind of looking at your life zoomed out from a macro perspective, I think that's where like our biggest hopes and dreams kind of live when we've kind of taken a step back. So I know for me personally, that's having a beautiful wife and family someday, that's doing impactful work that yields enough revenue that can allow me to live the lifestyle of my choice. It's living a long, healthy life. It's a lot of travel. So I know we all kind of have our own version of this idealistic life that, from a macro perspective up on an airplane, things that we want to say we did and experience in our lifetime, that's kind of this macro viewpoint of authenticity. Then we've come back down to earth, and it's our day-to-day lives walking this earth, dealing with all of the real challenges and circumstances and things, responsibilities, things that we've got to deal with on a daily basis that tend to get in the way of some of those bigger macro vision dreams that we have. And we've also got emotions that come and go like the wind and, influence our motivation, they influence our mood, yada, yada, yada. So that's a whole nother element of authenticity, is just like what's happening moment to moment and honoring our feelings in the moment. And then we've also got kind of this third layer, which is all the stuff that's happening below the surface. And that's actually what's driving a lot of our hopes and desires on that macro airplane level, as well as what's driving our actions on the surface level as well. So I think it's really important.
The subconscious.
Yeah, the subconscious. So I think it's not, yeah, I mean, it's subconscious, and it's like, what is the real driver? Like, why do I really want why do I really want the family? Why do I really want to make an impact? And I think, on the deepest level, it's like, what I want most is not actually money. It's what money represents. It's money represents that, like, I found my place in the world and I'm creating value for others. It's importance, it's validation, it's this idea of joy. So I think a lot of that lives below the surface. So I think it's easy to, it's easy to have big hopes and dreams. It's easy to get lost in our daily circumstances on the surface level. And oftentimes it's also easy to get disconnected from our real deepest motives. And I think the real challenge is we're seeking all of this validation and achievement and success on the external, and we lose sight of what we really want, which in my opinion, a lot of the times is just, to feel free, to be loved, to be accepted for who we are, to feel, important, to feel cherished and celebrated. So based on my own personal struggle, working in corporate America, living this life that I thought was expected of me, and then all of a sudden waking up at age 31 and being divorced and being like, what the heck happened to me? That's when I really started to look within more and to check in with myself, and realizing that this is not a struggle that's just independent to me. This is a human struggle, this challenge of being authentic, because we hear this a lot. I mean, being authentic, it's like being who you truly are, or not being, fazed by the influences and pressures of others. But being who you truly are, what does that even mean? I mean, it's changing constantly with our moods. And then, is it even possible to live without being the pressures and influence of others? We live in a society, we're conditioned from the second that we're born. So to me, Are You Being Real is this real invitation to check in with oneself, to identify what is real for me, and then to decide if you want to take action on whatever it is that's real, and then just to kind of build that muscle and practice daily. I know for me personally, I found that when I have the courage to check in and then take courageous action towards my truth, that over time it yields results that are super fulfilling, regardless of if those results look the way that I expected them to look. So kind of long story short, Are You Being Real is a focusing question that anyone can ask themselves. Because I think when you look at it as like, am I being authentic? It's such an abstract concept. It's so high level. What does that mean? Versus I like the Are You Being Real question, because I think it really points to the truth, as well as you can kind of look at it in a bunch of different areas. Like, are you being real about your professional career? I could ask myself that question. Am I being real about my professional career? Am I doing what I really would love to do? And where am I at today? And if I'm not at where I want to be, what are the steps that I need to take to get there? So I can ask about, am I being real about my career? Am I being real about my health? Am I putting good food in my body? Am I exercising actively? Am I being real about the limitations that I'm putting on myself? Some of the delusional stories that I tell myself about whether I can change the world, or I'm incapable of achieving the results or the life that I want. So it's just a long kind of exploration, kind of a treasure hunt. And it's been a lot of fun. So it's been 3.5 years. I've had some awesome people on the podcast. And I think most importantly, it's supported me so much in staying true to who I am, being accountable for the person that I want to be and strive to be. And then it's also just created all sorts of opportunities and possibilities that I could not have seen when I started the podcast 3.5 years ago.
That's so cool. And, there's so many amazing things that you said and what you're talking about. But really like the idea of like, the last thing that you said of like, once you start putting your foot in front of the other, like it opens up pathways and doorways that you wouldn't expect. So yeah, so like maybe this didn't look exactly like how you thought when you set out, but like, can you tell us about some of the amazing things that have opened up since you started?
Sure. Well, let me start with the things that haven't been so amazing, because I would love to just say that it's all been like, fine and dandy and beautiful, but it's more things haven't worked than have worked, with starting and growing a podcast from scratch. I worked in corporate America at Showtime networks for like 11 years. And then I had this grandiose idea to start this podcast about authenticity. And I thought that, I'd go and I'd have some of my most influential people from my network on the show, people like, Lewis Howes and Preston Smiles, and like they'd share it out with their audiences, and like my audience would grow so fast, and I'd attract all these sponsors, and I would do coaching, and I would do group coaching, and I would do workshops, and I would do paid speaking gigs, and like maybe make a documentary or write a book. I'm like, that's so many different ideas right there that I thought could stem out of it. And A, that's a lot of different things to work on simultaneously. Okay. And Truth. B, it was a lot harder than I thought. So definitely building a podcast. Like, I recommend anyone want to get your voice out there. Having a podcast is a great way to do it. With that said, it's a loud, noisy marketplace out there. Just within the podcast world alone, there's, hundreds of thousands of podcasts and more being added every single day. And then there's also YouTube, and there's social media, and there's like people's jobs, and like you're competing for people's attention with everything else going on in their life, including their parents and their, spouses and siblings. And, attention is a limited resource. So I found that was, very challenging, and continues to be a slow build with the podcast. Grows about like 20% a year, which is awesome, but
you've done a lot at this point, right? Like you've
done, I've done 206 episodes.
Awesome.
Yeah, haven't missed a week with releasing a podcast episode in like 3.5 years. So
yeah,
it's been beautiful. Pretty cool. But so it's been challenging. A lot of the business things that I've tried haven't worked. Probably more things haven't worked that have worked. But I think some of like the greatest achievements is like connecting with people who listen to the show and supporting them, whether through like my Winning Weeks coaching program, or just like having an awesome conversation, or just the love and support on social media. That's been really cool. I've met amazing people that I've had on my podcast. Like I've had New York Times bestselling authors, like sitting on my couch. I had the real Jerry Maguire, Lee Steinberg. I interviewed him when he was like kind of down in the dumps.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
He had the big success, which inspired the movie Jerry Maguire. He was like the top NFL agent pretty much of all time. He represented Troy Aikman and Drew Bledsoe and a bunch of the top quarterbacks. And then he lost his license to practice as an agent in the NFL, and then came back, and he's got one of the top NFL players, a rising star in Patrick Mahomes. So he just had a big comeback, but it was really cool to sit down in his office and talk to him about the ups and downs of his life, and him just being completely real about it. So that was really cool. So I've had awesome guests on, and it's birthed beautiful friendships. And then, like I said, it's provided this accountability system for me by like talking to like inspiring people like yourself, Alexa, once a week. And talking about important topics that challenge my own authenticity and make me think. It like naturally like raises the stakes for me in terms of, living my vision and being the person that I want to be. And then like lastly, again, things that I couldn't have expected, like giving a TEDx talk, which I did last year. Like all of this stuff came out of taking a risk to pursue this vision of starting this podcast. And just like you said, so much has unfolded as I've started to take the steps that I could not have possibly seen when I started.
That's so cool. Awesome. I love it. Geez, it's like your success is huge, honestly. And for the people who want to make a big impact, there's always like the next level, right? So you're always seeing like, okay, these people are doing this out there. Like, am I doing enough? But like, really, like we are where we are.
Yeah. Indeed. And I mean, that's one of the challenges, is looking at other people and, thinking maybe, I shouldn't be where I'm at, or I wish I was further along, or somebody else looks like that they were further along, and analyzing, what they did and how they were doing it. And like, I've definitely learned and continue to learn every single day, because I still get lost in that social media game sometimes, but that's just never a winning formula. Ever. It's like always most important to like, stick to the vision, obviously get feedback from the people around you and based on the results that you're getting, and then to pivot. But I think we can learn from other people, but the comparison game is just never one that I want to play, at least.
Yeah, sure. As much as we can remember that, it's a good thing to live by, right? What are some of the things that you're most excited about on the horizon?
Yeah, there's a few different things. I'd say there's 3 things professionally that I'm most excited about. And the number one thing is this app that I'm building called Love Bomb. And I think like the quick backstory here on Love Bomb is about 2.5 years ago, after my dad passed away, I started sending personalized videos to every single one of my Facebook friends on their birthdays. And I started doing it because it was like right after my dad died. I was very grateful for all the love that people were showering on me after my dad passed away, when I was in a tough place. And I started sending voice memos to all these people, which made me think like, how can I send more acknowledgement videos? How can I be kinder to other people just for the sake of being kind? And I came up with this kind of crazy idea, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, about kind of living in this world of possibility and impact, and like looking at what's possible and reinventing what's possible, because I believe anything is possible. So I'm like, what if I just started sending a personalized video message to every single one of my Facebook friends on their birthdays? So that's what I gave my TEDx talk on. But needless to say, it's been over 2.5 years now. And I literally have not missed a birthday in 2.5 years. I go into Facebook every single day and I send a personalized video to every one of my Facebook friends whose birthday it is, regardless of when I talked to them last, or regardless of the relationship. So there's like, everyone gets a video. So it's like my best friends, they usually get a FaceTime call, or, a big hug in person. But even that person that I haven't seen in 20 years, who I grew up with, that maybe I haven't had any touch with, they get a personalized video. And now at this point, these people have gotten 2 or 3 personalized videos for me. And it's been really cool, but it's also taught me so much about the value of speaking kind words and just being loving on one another. In the Dale Carnegie classic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he says like his main secret sauce is that people just want to feel important. They want to feel special. And I think, going out of my way, taking just 5-10 minutes a day, that's all it takes to send these personalized video messages. I've got about 3,000 Facebook friends. So if you have less than that, it would take even less probably per day.
And I do want to say for the viewers, I've received a few of these now from Mark, and Mark and I kind of knew each other, but not really. And so it was an awesome thing to see in my messenger. So thank you.
Oh, nice. Glad to hear that it resonated with you. So it's really transformed my relationships, and it's really taught me how easy it is to just share some love. And so I realized like it's kind of extreme to send personalized videos to every single person you know. And I'm not like telling everybody to do that, but I've really created like this like daily ritual essentially, because I do this every day, that makes me feel great when I send the videos, because naturally I'm just showing gratitude for these people who have had some sort of role in my life, regardless of how much. And that makes me feel great to be grateful. I mean, it's legitimately, it's a scientifically proven fact that when we are grateful, when we are thankful, it equates to an increased level of happiness. So just by doing that makes me feel better. And then the person who receives it gets to feel loved up, gets to feel seen, gets to feel special, gets to feel valued, which, is also a kind of a scientific type of thing as well. And then also kind of the hope that, they pay it forward in whatever way feels authentic to them. So there's some sort of ripple effect. But I wanted to create a mechanism that allowed people to have that same experience, and just to make it really easy to do so. With Love Bomb, I really wanted to kind of create this kind of like fun app that allows people to kind of feel like every day is their birthday, and to get surprise videos on any given day. So it's currently being developed.
When is it dropping?
I mean, I'd love for it to drop in the next 6 months. This is the first app that I've ever developed, so I don't know exactly, but stay tuned for sure. Like this is my highest purpose at the moment. Like I think it's the biggest work that I've done to date, and that's one thing I'm really excited about. The second is this idea of Kindfluence, which is really the ethos of Love Bomb, which is, as Newton says in his third law, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So anything that we do as we go about our day, if we're interacting with other people, everything that we do is going to have some sort of effect on others. And it's kind of like, what kind of effect do you want to have? And when you tie that together with kind of this idea that I mentioned earlier, that Dale Carnegie said, that what people want is to feel, important and special. It's where do those things merge together? Where do kindness and influence merge together? And, I look at the word influence today on social media and like, who are these influencers? To be an influencer, I guess it just means you have a lot of followers on social media. But like I said, every single person is an influencer. You're an influencer. Everyone who's tuning in, you're an influencer, because everything that you do has an impact on others. And, what I've learned, like sending these personalized video messages to everybody, it's just so easy to make a positive impression on someone. And I think like really the three principles of Kindfluence is coming from a place that is A, kind and giving, that it's honest, and that it's really selfless. So I'm excited about that. I'm doing a lot of talks on the art of Kindfluence and supporting organizations and creating a healthier internal dynamic where the teams are treating each other a little bit more kindfully in a way that makes it a better place for everyone to work. And I think we live in this kind of consumption me-centric world where a lot of the times we're wondering, what's in it for me? What's my objective? What's going to make me look good? And while obviously like that's just part of being a human and part of the experience, there's more to the equation, and that's the we. So actually what I've learned is that the best way to actually achieve what you want and to look good is by helping others. So it's kind of flipping it. And so that's really Kindfluence. So I'm starting to do a lot more speaking on the art of Kindfluence, and I've got a bunch of like skill building techniques that I'm taking into organizations, and I'm really fired up about Kindfluence and supporting more people in making the kind of kind impressions that they want to make on others that will kind of support everybody.
I love it. That's so perfect. It's exactly what I wanted to promote with this, transformative impact. I'm like, yeah, if you get a bunch of people who are successful in these different sectors and you like boil it down to the common things that are supporting them to make an impact, like what are they, right? And
right.
It is contribution, I think, right? Like
and actually caring, really caring about somebody else. The third thing, just real quick.
Got it. Go for it. Go for it.
I'm long-winded here. Is that I have just put up a ton of content on my YouTube channel. So we've done like 206 episodes of Are You Being Real, the podcast. And for like the first 200 episodes, there was only audio, but I've been recording it on video for about the last 100 weeks. So I think we've got like 12 to 15 full video episodes and a bunch of short form little bite-sized clips on the YouTube channel. So I'm really excited about that because I just like, as I mentioned before, I think authenticity is one of the most important skills to have as a human. It's also one of the most challenging things to practice.
So you've touched on so many things that are awesome, but I would love to hear, like, if you could distill down, like, to the one thing that would support people to transform their impact, or the one thing that's transformed your impact, what would that be?
Think big. Think big, I'd say, is probably it. To think big and to go for it. So that's like, if not you, then who? Like anything that you're frustrated with in the state of the world today, just notice some of those frustrations and feel free to allow yourself to think of what that solution could be and to go for it. Because like I said, if not you, then who? So if there's something that you want to see change in the world, come up with a big idea and go for it.
You have a generous offer. Would you tell us what this is?
Sure. Yep. So it's kind of a two-part offer. I've got an authenticity reality check on areyoubeingrreal.com. So you can take the quick authenticity assessment, a great way to challenge your own authenticity, to take the Am I Being Real challenge on areyoubeingrreal.com. And then we've got a free ebook that you'll also get when completing the challenge. That is the 5 not so obvious things that are preventing you from getting what you want. So it's kind of a deep dive into some things that you might not be thinking about that could be a big game changer for you and helping you achieve whatever it is that you're after.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mark. It's been awesome speaking with you. I knew it would be. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and please come back and see us again tomorrow. We're going to have other amazing people who are doing beautiful things in the world, and all of this beautiful secrets to the universe, we get to share them. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. This has been a joy.